Earlier, having a credit card, and I want myself to have more than I love to see that you get credit that if your credit limit. Hey, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Kevin? I hope you can hear me. I'm going to start over just in case you guys did not hear me. So, today we are going to talk about, okay, perfect. Kevin can hear me. So, today we're going to talk about the importance of having credit cards. Earlier this week, I talked a little bit about that, but I realized that I didn't give you guys enough information. Okay. I believe that if you feed a man, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat today. But if you teach a man to fish, he will eat forever. Okay. A lot of us get bits and pieces of data, but not enough data to actually help us make the decisions that we need to navigate this thing called life. So we're going to talk about credit and why it's important to have credit cards. How do credit cards feed your score? Right. I want you guys to understand that there's five factors, only five factors that you have to master in order to get good, excellent, or perfect credit. Okay. Credit cards feed 90%. 90% of your credit score comes from having a credit card. Okay. So we're going to talk about where these things come from. So, first of all, 35% of your credit score comes from your payment history, right? 35%. So it's not one of those things where, well, if I don't use credit, then I get full credit. No, you got to feed that machine if you want the points. It's not one of those things where you get full credit just because you haven't used it, right? Now, when I talked about, you know, 35% coming from your payment history, I'm not talking about things like your electric bill, your water bill, nothing like that, unless you don't pay them. If you don't pay them and they end up in collections or charged off, then yes, they're going to affect your credit score. What I'm talking about are the things that directly affect your credit score. For example, your credit card bill, your car note, your mortgage, student loans, personal loans, right? Any of those types of things, if you have those, you have to pay them on time. Again, if you don't have credit card, then you're not going to get credit for, no pun intended, credit for having that portion of your credit score calculated. The next thing is 30% comes from how much credit are you using versus how much could you use. Okay, I want you guys to think of your credit report like an adult credit card. okay, you want to use no more than 30% of your credit limits, okay? And there's lots of factors that go into this. For example, if you buy a car, the longer you pay on that car, the bigger the gap becomes from what your balance is versus where you started. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking strictly about credit cards, okay? If your credit card limit is $1,000, you don't want to use any more than $300, okay? You want to stay under that 30%. Now, understand that if you use only $300 on that credit card, that's going to give you a D on your report card, right? So you really want to stay between 2 and 9%, but definitely lower than 30%. We understand things happen. Sometimes emergencies come up and you have to use your cards, right? That's perfectly fine. Get those things back down before your statement date, which is the date that gets reported to the, or that item gets reported to the credit bureaus. As long as your balance is under 30% before your credit card reports to the credit bureaus, you're good. Okay. Next is your payment history, right? How long have you been using credit? That's determined by 15% of your score. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's only 15%. I want you guys to understand something. 15% of 850 is a lot of points, right? We talking, you want to, most of us want to get a 750, a 775, a 800 or better, right? You won't get those with zero payment history. So how's payment history calculated? Does that mean is how long you've been using credit? Well, no, right? This is where it gets confusing because you could have been using credit since you've gone to college, right? Since you've been 18 years old or whatever, right? You could have bought a car, you could have bought, all kinds of things. You could have had a credit card and then closed it, right? When they talk about payment history, they're really talking about how long have your current accounts that are open, how long have they been open? This is where credit cards really come into play because when you go and you pay off a car, right? When you pay off a car, you're going to lose all of that payment history. So if you don't have anything that's older than that car loan, when that car note closes, when you close that account, your credit score is going to drop significantly, right? If you have a credit card that's older than that car loan, when you pay that car off, yes, your credit score will still go down, but nowhere near as drastic. Once you have a credit card, you never, ever, ever want to close that credit card unless you go to a mortgage broker to buy a home and they say you have too much available credit. If you have to do that, if you have to close some accounts, you start by closing the newest accounts first. Okay, you start by closing the newest accounts first. Okay, and then the other 10% of that 90% that's fed by your credit cards is your credit mixture, right? You have to have a solid mixture of revolving and installment debt. Installment debt is something with a fixed payment, like a personal loan, a student loan, a car note, a mortgage, right? But a revolving loan is it's a loan that you can basically use over and over and over again, like a credit card. That's all a credit card is. It's a loan that you walk around with in your pocket. As long as you're making your payments on time, you can continue to use that loan, right? People with 750 and 800 credit scores, they have 4 credit cards. They've got 4 credit cards. They also have at least 7 years of history, right? Remember, we talked about how much history affects your credit score, right? They also have at least 7 years of history. So you're not gonna start a credit card today and then automatically have a 750, 800 credit score. Okay, that's not how it works. It does take time. But ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and recap, right? Real quick. 35% comes from just paying your bills on time. You have to do that. That's the biggest effect on your credit, but you have to have credit cards. 30% comes from percentage of credit use, right? How much credit are you using versus how much could you use? You definitely want to keep that below 30%. If you can get below 10%, that's even better. Then 15%, how long have you been using credit, right? How long have your open accounts been open? And then finally, a solid mixture of revolving and installment debt. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the blueprint. This is the blueprint. My mentor says once you hear information, you're responsible for it, right? Knowledge is not power unless you apply that knowledge. This is how you get to where you want to be. This is how you get the best interest rates when you go to buy a home. This is what you do when you go to get the best interest rate to buy a car. This is how you go into the lot and buy a car with no money down, or buy a home with no money down. You have to understand and master credit. Listen, if you don't have a credit card, or if you do have credit cards and you are in need to improve your credit score, I want you to reach out to me. Just comment card on this video, inbox me card. You guys can text card to 904-254-6450. We have a credit card which is 100% approval, right? It's a secured credit card. We have 100% approval, no credit check, and no fees. No, not even a minimum deposit required. So it's on you. There's no reason to not have a credit card. You guys have the knowledge. Now let's get to work, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have a fantastic Financial Freedom Friday. I'll catch you guys on the other side.